Hello, it's Steph from IDRIVEACLASSIC, and today I'm back, and it's not really about me being on camera today because I'm going to be showing you the roads of West Yorkshire all the way up into the Lake District. Exciting! We're on a road trip and it's already gone wrong because I forgot all my filming kit, lost my mic, and it's been calamity. So let's stop for lunch and then we'll get going properly. Our first big stop was in Skipton at Billy Bob's Parlour. Now this is a restaurant that I've heard a lot about, and when I talked about it on Twitter, a lot of people said, oh, I've been there and it's really, really good. But one of the best things about this for me is, and I know this is a bit mean, it's the teenage and up section. So if you're just an adult who wants a quiet meal, you can pop in and enjoy it. And best of all, they've got veggie, vegan options for people like me. And also you can eat on a bus. So there's lots of different options. It's a really good location, and I've popped more info in the description box below. As we travel through this miserable part of Yorkshire, miserable as in the weather, not the actual place, it's all right around Skipton, it's quite nice. I thought I would talk to you about planning for your road trip, because I think we're all very into the whole let's plan the route, let's make sure we see some great roads, but you're not going to get anywhere unless your car is really well prepped. And that's something I want to talk about because, look, full confession time, when I was younger, I never used to bother prepping my car for road trips because I thought, well, I use the thing every day, it's going to be fine. But fail to prepare, prepare to fail, and all that nonsense. So let's talk through what I did to prepare the car, and then I will talk you through my packing list, which, by the way, I've popped in the description box below. So if you want to use it to reference for your own trip, it's all down there in black and white for you. So first of all, prepping the car for the road trip. Now this bit for me was really, really important because, as many of you know, the Triumph has been historically very unreliable until this year when, for some reason, it's been very reliable. And with that, I've found that it's been really important to make sure that I prep and prep again. So first of all, went through and checked all the tyres. It's something you should do every week anyway, but went through and checked it, checked all the levels, got underneath, checked for leaks, checked all the brakes. What else did I do? Service. It's recently had a service, so it didn't need one. It had one within the last 1,000 miles, so there was no need to do that, but I knew that it had been done and I knew that nothing had come up on that. I went round and checked all the silly little things like hose clips, hoses, and things like your fan belt, because a lot of the time when you come unstuck and it's things like that that go, you probably could have spotted it if you'd had a good look before you set off. Now, I might be telling a lot of people stuff that you already know, but if, like me, when I was younger, you didn't really know any of this and nobody told you, here it is. These are the things that you can check to try and stop some of the miserable things happening. Now, in terms of what I pack, I don't pack very lightly, and a lot of people mock me for this and they say, well, if your car's that unreliable, why are you taking it that far? But it's not about that. The reason I pack so heavily and take so much with me is because if something does go wrong, and law of averages says it might do because all machines fail at some point, I want to be prepared. So here is my packing trip essentials, and it's quite a lot. So first of all, let's talk through the non-mechanical bits that I pack. So I've got reflective jackets in the car, I've got a red triangle. Got into having these in the car when I went to France, and it's a legal requirement, and actually I just kept them in, and they do prove to be very useful because if something happens and all your electrics fail, you've at least got something there to try and help you out. I always pack a power bank and 2 charging cables because if you're stuck by the side of the road or waiting breakdown for a long time, you want to know that you're going to be able to get in touch with people and they're going to be able to get in touch with you back. Water, snacks, notepad and pen, because you never know when you might need those. And here's the thing, all relevant phone numbers written down in that notepad, including breakdown, insurance and next of kin. I say next of kin because if something morbid happens, you want to know that people can at least know who to get hold of. I always pack a road map, plasters, headache tablets, some petty cash, because you know that on road trips like this, you're probably going to find a petrol station that won't take a card, bungee cords, rope, cable ties in both metal and plastic, and bin bags. Now the reason I always say bin bags is this, because number one, if your clothes all get wet, you've got somewhere to put them instantly and you're not getting all over the car. And number two, if you break down in a downpour and you don't want to get your coat soaked through, you just bag a bin bag on and you can fit them in the glove box. Tools wise, I take various spanners. I've just got a massive toolbox basically that I chuck everything in. Scissors, pliers, a jack, a lighter, screwdrivers, jump leads and a torch. And I also have string. I never really mentioned that, but string's quite handy as well. Parts and consumables, I've got spare bulb kit in the car. Again, that's a bit of a hangover from France. I never used to really carry one of those before. Oil, water, brake fluid, dashboard oil, antifreeze, a jerry can with fuel in, fuses, hose clips, and a spare hose or two, of course. And then I carry a few bits for the ignition kit because these are the things that let you down and then you end up losing your whole trip for the sake of something that costs a few quid. So the bits that I pack, even though I'm on electronic ignition, include points, condenser, rotor arm, dizzy cap, HT leads, spark plugs, fan belt and a coil. And I've also got my spare tyre and of course check that regularly. Now we'll carry on with our drive. I'll tell you a little bit about Yorkshire itself and yeah, we'll get on to our next location. If despite the poor weather you're thinking I'm definitely going to head up to the Yorkshire Dales National Park, one of the places you have to visit and that I had to show you today, even though we're running massively behind time and probably won't get time for the Pencil Museum now, is the small market town of Hawes. It's one of my favourite places in Yorkshire and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's worth coming to visit if you're coming out for a drive, and there's plenty of places that you can build into it to make it a bit of a day. So first of all, I would advise you to go for a walk through the town. One of the days that you might want to bring it into if you're doing this during the week is a Tuesday because that's their market day. But for me, one of the biggest attractions here is the Wensleydale Cheese Factory. But we're going to show you a little snippet of that in a bit. But let me tell you about making Hawes part of your trip up north. Because if you wanted to come here, you're very close to Buttertubs Pass, which is a really nice driving road. And one of the reasons it's called Buttertubs Pass is because, and I don't know if this is true or this is something I've read online, but I'm sure that when I got told this, I thought that it was right, is when the farmers and the people that used to make dairy products locally used to make the butter, there's these huge crevices in the road that they used to lower the butter into, and it meant that it kept it cool in the days before fridges, and it meant that it wouldn't spoil and they could then sell it on market day. Now we're coming up to the Wensleydale Cheese Factory, but remember if you are coming to Hawes, you want to be hitting Buttertubs Pass, you want to be hitting all the roads around here, and you're also not very far from Tan Hill Inn, which I think is the highest pub in the UK, and this is one of the highest market towns in the UK actually, because it's 850 feet above sea water. Now let's head in to Wensleydale Cheese Factory. I'm going to quickly show you it and we'll carry on. The Wensleydale Creamery is one of my top tourist attractions that I think you should go to if you're in the area. Unfortunately, because we're running dramatically behind time, we didn't get to see it all today, but here's a quick taster. Remember, if you are coming, they do have a restaurant on site too. So let's crack on. I feel like chaos is absolutely acceptable and I try and be as honest as I can about motoring, and I'm going to be very honest with you all at home and tell you that I really poorly time planned this route. So it wasn't a poor plan in terms of the views or the scenery or the fun things we were going to see. It's just that I'd accidentally planned 2 days into one day, which is one of my big failings. I do this all the time and no one really checked my route, so it's completely my fault. But the original route that we were going to take, which I would advise you to split across 2 or 3 days actually, is all in the description box below. So I've given you road names, I've given you ideas of where to stop, because by the time that we'd left Hawes it was 5 o'clock and Fred and I had to make a decision. We said, what are we going to do? We're going to have to pick some bits to skip out. So originally we were going to do all the bits that you'd seen, and all of this is in the description box if you want to follow the route yourself and drive it yourself. And then we were going to go up to Bowness, which is where we're heading now, via Ingleton. Then we were going to do, well, at that point we could either stop at the hotel, but we were going to loop round onto Kirkstone Pass, up towards the Derwent Pencil Museum, drop back down onto Hardknot Pass, and then come back down into Windermere. But because the weather's really bad, and you'll see as well that I wasn't the best at planning this route because we somehow saw Ribble Viaduct twice, and I actually don't know how we did that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to cut out some of it, and we are going to take a couple of busy roads just to get to places quicker. You're still going to see lots of stuff, but this is the thing with road trips, is that you can plan to the best of your ability and you just end up getting completely waylaid. And there's future video content in this, because what I've decided we'll do is we'll come back through Yorkshire this winter. I think we'll do Yorkshire in a winter series, and I'm going to take you for some good drives around Yorkshire, show you some different roads in the Morris Minor, which will be back by then, and we'll do it slightly differently rather than trying to condense everything into this video, skip things, rush things. So this is almost a taster of some of the road trip footage that you'll see, which is disappointing, but that's very typically me, that I end up trying to do 2 days in one go. So let's head on to those busy roads and I'll carry on chatting to you after that. Now, full disclosure, it wasn't all beautiful country roads, and unfortunately we did have to slot in a few A roads and busy roads as well, but it quickly got us up to Lake Windermere. Right, we've got the boring roads out of the way and we're coming into Bowness. Now, if you've never been to the Lake District before, and it's not somewhere that I've spent massive amounts of time, it's one of, for me, the most beautiful places in England, and it's also one of the most interesting, because there is absolutely something for everybody here, whether you're a driver like me who's looking for incredible roads, and you can be hitting some of those roads. So I'm going to show you today Kirkstone Pass once we come through. So at the moment we're going through one of the towns, we're going through Bowness and Windermere. Now, once we come through here and we go up onto it, you'll see how close all the good driving roads are to all the towns, and everything seems to be very much on top of each other, even though you're in the countryside. So it's actually quite a nice place to go, whereas there's other countryside places I've been, and everything is so spread out that you end up spending half a day driving somewhere to do one thing. The great thing about this area is that everything seems to be relatively close, and you can get from one thing to another in about 10 minutes, or if you're going a bit further, you can take some decent roads like this. Now, if you've never been to the Lake District, I thought I would give you some facts. So first of all, there aren't that actually many people that live around here. I think there's only 40,000 people that live in the Lake District, and there is actually only one lake, because they're called different things, but actually it's only, I think it's called Bessenthwaite Lake, is the only actual lake. It's one of the most rainy places in the UK, and it's also got England's largest national park. So if you're a bit burnt out from modern life, this is actually quite a good place to come. And if you're travelling from abroad and you've read a lot of things like Enid Blyton books, or you've somehow been lulled into a false sense of security by programmes like Call the Midwife and Heartbeat, this is a very good place to start. Lake District, North Yorkshire, some of my favourite places to drive, some of my favourite places to explore. And we're definitely going to come back to the Lake District again this year. And if you're into all of the walking stuff, and I'll be honest, it's not my biggest thing, you can see plenty around here because there's loads of good nature walks. I mean, it's got England's highest peak. I mean, I don't even own a pair of trainers or walking boots, but if you're into that, you can take yourself up Scafell Pike. And if you're more of an animal lover like me, who likes to do things a bit slower, they've even got red squirrels here, because the red squirrel is actually native to the Lake District. And what's really annoying is when we were driving, we turned off the cameras because of the rain, and at that point Fred went, "There's a red squirrel running across the road," and there was a red squirrel, and we had never seen one before. So that was a really special moment, and I think actually it's things like that that make trips special. You don't have to go to all these flashy places. It's driving roads like this, it's seeing red squirrels, it's seeing all this beautiful countryside that, by the way, it looks much better on a sunny day, that makes trips not just good, but really, really good. Now, I realise that when it looks a bit like this, and it looks like someone's put a grey wash across the entire landscape, it can be very hard to appreciate just how beautiful it is. So I thought actually what I would do is pull over and do a couple of pan shots so you could see exactly what it looked like, the landscape, and try and get a better feel for it. But trust me, it was very, very hard to do. So here we go. It feels like such a shame that we couldn't fully show you just how beautiful this landscape is. Now, it hasn't come out very well on video, which is a real shame, because when we were there, maybe it was the atmosphere, it felt so hugely atmospheric, because you could hear all the animals, you could hear the wildlife, you could feel the moisture in the air, it just smelt so rich, it was beautiful. So even though it was a bit overcast, it was all made up for just the environment that we were in. Now, as you can see, as we came back down one of the other roads into Bowness, there are so many great driving roads here. And I think that if you are coming and you're trying to make it a bit of a family holiday, or you're trying to make it a bit exciting, and really make it worth your while, because petrol's so expensive now. This is definitely an area to come to because there are so many great roads. It's just they're a bit of a brake ruiner because my brakes have picked up a bit of an ungodly squeak after some of these roads that we've been driving on. Now, something I wanted to say before we come back down, because we're going to be coming back down off this road back into Bowness, is I know you probably haven't seen a lot of me on camera today, and that was for a bit of a reason, because for me, this video wasn't about me being in front of the camera or me trying to give you an opinion or try and make you laugh. It was to show you some of the beautiful scenery that we've been driving today, give you a bit of a taster for the area, tell you the route that we intended to drive but didn't quite make. We're definitely going to redo it again, and just show you how beautiful this part of England is, because sometimes I think you get stuck in a rut with where you end up on holiday. So a lot of people from down south might say, oh, you know, we only head off to Devon or Cornwall, or maybe across into places like Margate or Norfolk. But actually, for the bit of extra petrol that it costs, come up and have a look at the Lake District. It's fantastic. And I hope that some of this journey today has given you a bit of a taster for just how beautiful Yorkshire and the Lake District are. And if you're watching this from abroad and maybe you can't travel at the moment, or you've got a trip planned but you're not going to get here for ages, this will get you a little bit excited for your trip abroad. Now, we're soon going to be coming back down into our hotel and coming back down into the village. But first of all, I wanted to tell you and give you a bit of a reminder about what else is coming up on the channel. So next time you're going to see a lot more of us, and you're even going to get to meet Fred, my boyfriend, because we've come on this trip together and it's exciting. And we're going to show you some of our favourite things that we've seen whilst we've been in the Lake District. But first of all, let's head off to our hotel, which we're going to show you in more detail on the next video. We're stopping in at the Lakeside Hotel and Spa. It's beautiful. We cannot wait to get inside. But until next time, next week, when we do more, take care and drive safely.